Okay, I'm gonna try some Snickers Jack-o'-lanterns. Um, Pretty sure they're Snickers. So there's not much to review here. The main thing is, do they look like jack-o'-lanterns, or do they look like poops? And I got one here. Wow, they look like jack-o'-lanterns. That's a nice little, good-looking candy. Uh, it's a Snickers. Our house Snickers, it's basically like a peanut buttery, nuts and some nougat or caramel in there. Very popular bar in the U.S. They have the whole campaign that'll satisfy your hunger, and it does. It's good. I won't give you any nutrition, but yeah, they'll fill you up. And that's good. I like Snickers. It's a pretty good bar. Yeah. There we go. Got some peanuts in that one. Anyway, so well, good news. Archie's being calm tonight, and we stopped at the end of me getting some gifts at the after party for the first year of the haunt. Now, I do not remember if this was the second year. I kind of think it is. It was a very ambitious year of the Screamworks haunt. If it wasn't, it might as well have been the second year. Who cares? The introduction was a farmhouse. And we went into the farmhouse. We're in the living room, kitchen, the serial killer's bedroom, out a door, and then down into a labyrinth, down under the ground, which you didn't really go down under the ground. It was just an illusion they created. Fantastic one. Came up out of the ground. There was another place that was a ditch made into a river with a rope bridge. That was an effect that the rope bridge was not a good move. It worked, but we had to pretty much build a real bridge because too many people slipped on it and stuff when it got muddy. No, that was no good. But they wanted to, this stuff happened, whatever. I believe the ending was the barn facade. And when you went in it, they had built the sides to the barn. It was a barn now. And the chainsaw guy was, a chainsaw guy was in there. Not Leatherface, but they just still kept with the chainsaws because they're outdoors. You can use chainsaws outdoors. I mean, real chainsaws when you're outdoors. So that was always good. And a chainsaw would chase you out. It was a very good haunt. Now, the effect that's really worth talking about is the ditch. And how you got into the ditch, which was my part on it. When you walked into the front of the house looked great. The living room was fine. It was a living room. It was supposed to be an old farmhouse. So we didn't have to find TVs or anything special. Just old clothing. We put some skeletons on our old furniture, skeletons on it, pictures on the wall. Kitchen was easy, because we had access to like an old storage shed that they didn't care about. And it was filled with toys and furniture and clothing and all this stuff. I said, look, if you guys can make stuff out of this, use it, take it. It's yours. So the found a dining table, whatever, made a dining room. Lighting was interesting. Then there was the bedroom. And the idea was you leave the bedroom through a hole in the wall, and then you'd go down a set of steps, or just 3 or 4 steps, if that. May not even been steps. It might have just been a descent down a ramp. Pretty sure it was a descent down a ramp. And they were pulling their hair out while they worked. They really wanted to work on the ditch. And I'll tell you about the ditch, but they said, Daddy, can you help us with this bedroom? We can't find a bed. We can't do anything. But we feel this should be where the killer, resides. It's this bedroom. I said I'd give it some thought and see what I can come up with. Because we couldn't find a bed. We couldn't find anything that would help us. It wasn't a big room. So they busted out the wall idea. You went through the opening through like a little gap, and the way they did it was they took a area that was maybe 10 by 10 feet. I'm gonna say, could have been 20 by 20 feet, whatever it was. They dug down with a front loader into because it was all in a farm, it was dirt. Front loader couldn't have been 6 feet, maybe 6 feet down. And it was just a 20 by 20 foot ditch, 6 feet down. And you went down this, you walked in, turned to the left, and down you went, and the whole sides were, it was just a 20 by 20 foot ditch, no top. The sides, they made a maze in there out of wood and camo netting and all this stuff, and they used parachute and camo netting over the top to give it the feel that you were now underground. Really cool effect. Really overly ambitious. At the end, they were like, that effect was so cool, but so not worth it. People did say their favorite part was when they went literally underground, which you can't do that. You can't build a literal cave in a farm. It's not going to happen. This was open in case, the whole top was there, because you always have to have open tops on your facades when you're out in these buildings, because you don't have sprinklers, so if there's something, the fire hoses have to be able to come in. The water comes in to put out a fire if something happens. So you always have open roofs on your buildings, even though they look like buildings. You can hide them very well with especially parachuting and that sort of stuff, but anyways, that was the pit. It was great. And then the river, the ditch, that was lame. That didn't work. So my part was the serial killer's bedroom, and I looked at this room and there's 2 things that come to mind. Is an old haunted house saying was, it's dark, no one will notice. That means you don't have to be perfect. But there is an old saying that always comes to mind when I do stuff like that from Walt Disney. And they would ask him, like when he was doing the Haunted Mansion, why do all the settings have to be right? And I said, no one will notice if there's a fork there or not. And Walt Disney's answer was perfect to me. He said, yes, you're right. They won't notice if it's there. They will notice if it's not there. So to me, when I was doing a bedroom, I had to make it look like a bedroom. I had to put things in there that represented a serial killer in a bedroom. Because if they weren't there, they would notice. Now, they did not have to be perfect because it was dark. So what I did was got some boards and a big piece of plywood and made a short table and threw a sheet on it, threw blankets on it, and a pillow. And there was the bed that they were searching for. It's dark. No one's going to notice, but there's a bed, the wall was just one of the walls. I mean, it was a four-wall room. You came in through a door and out through another door, and they were all walls. I'm like, no one has a bedroom with all walls. I found some curtains in the barn, just curtains, and I hung them up on the wall. And now you had a window in the room because they were closed. The curtains were closed. You can't see out the window that's closed. But it started creating the illusion of a room. My next idea was that he's a serial killer. So how are we going to let people know he's a serial killer? I started grabbing newspapers and cutting out articles. Now it's going to be dark. You can't read the articles. It doesn't matter what they are. I cut out one newspaper. I just grabbed a newspaper. What was it? 50 cents, $1 at the time, if that. And newspapers were printed in 2001. So I would grab a newspaper and I just cut out articles, just any articles, and scattered them on the wall. But if the headline said murder, death, anything, I would just cut those words out real big, and those would be seen. And you wouldn't see what the articles were. You wouldn't see the headlines on the article. You would just see murder, death, kidnapped, all those types of words scattered around this wall of articles, because it's kind of traditional to see a serial killer, save souvenirs from his crimes, newspaper articles being one of them. And they were on the wall. And then, a friend of mine helped me age him. He had an idea of taking coffee that people were drinking and watering it, and then we just kind of painted everything. And it just gave it a dirty, grimy serial killer look. And the next step was that opening for the pit that you would go into. I looked at that, and what I ended up doing was creating that into a closet. It was his closet, because there was tons of clothes in the barn, tons of clothes. I just grabbed all the clothes I could, and since it was just all throwaway stuff, just put bars and stuff through them. So you basically saw that there was a closet, but saw there was light through it. You realized that the only way out of this room was in the closet, and to get into the pit, you had to go in the closet and work your way through the clothing, like curtains, but multiple layers. I made it like 3 or 4 layers of clothing that you had to work your way pushing, and it was really creepy, because if you've ever done that in a haunt, or done that in your life, which would be weird, when you start working your way through something like that, anything could be in there with you, and it's scary as crap. And of course I nailed shoes to the floor all around, because it was a wooden floor. They had built a structure. I nailed shoes to the floor. Were they his shoes? Were they a person? You didn't know. You're stepping on shoes. You're stepping on someone's feet. Who knew? So it had a neat little effect of walking through the closet, and they were a little scared when they got to the pit, which was really nothing. You went down, back type of thing. But anyhow, it was good. It was a good effect. Again, way too much work for what it came out as, but it was good. But that was my contribution to that haunt, and that may be one of my last stories. I have one other a good story about scaring the crap out of someone, kind of literally, not really, a crapper out of someone or something like that. And I'll think, but I'll tell that one in a little bit and see how things go from here. All right, folks, I hope you enjoyed the stories as well as my reviews on these weird little treats that really aren't the point of these whole things anyhow. All right, bye-bye.